Hello everyone, my name is Winters and welcome to Winters Budget Builds. Today we are going to cover the Jem'Hadar Light Battlecruiser. This ship was gifted to me by a very generous member of the Priority 1 Armada, so I would like to say a very sincere thank you to Ray Bosch Borg for gifting this ship to me. In this episode we are going to start off with weapons, gear and equipment. Then we are going to move on to the skill tree. From there we will move on to traits and bridge officer abilities, and then the bridge officers themselves, and then the duty officers that are part of this build. Finally, we will finish up the episode by playing a patrol mission to see what the build is like in battle, and I will give you my fun factor rating for this ship. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is something that's come up in previous videos, and I want to make it clear right from the start now of this video. This is an epic build. Everything is max level Mark 15 epic. That is irrelevant. Doesn't make a blind bit of difference. Having gear at Mark 15 epic is like fine-tuning. Alright, so it really wouldn't matter if these weapons were very rare or ultra rare. The fact that they're epic it's just fine-tuning the build. So don't get hung up on the fact that everything is epic, because it's not game-changing, okay? But this is like the only other build I have that is epic, and yeah, I just want to make it clear that, look, just because the gear is epic, it doesn't make a blind bit of difference. I done this with Omega tech upgrades, which can be got once per year during the anniversary event, usually around February of every year. And yeah, as such, it didn't cost me any dilithium to get those tech upgrades, which were then used to upgrade this gear to Mark 15 Epic. So yeah, don't worry that it's epic. If your gear is either very rare or ultra rare, you're on the right track. Alright? Anything after that, you're just fine-tuning the build. That's all you're doing. You're just, maximizing your full potential. So, this build, I actually... well, not this build, but this character I used, some of you will be familiar with this character, I should say, as I used it for one of my Let's Play videos. I done a Let's Play on this character, went through from the very beginning, all of the story, right through to the very end. We're on a number of different starships and finally ended up on this ship. And that's actually one of the reasons why this is Mark 15 Epic, because in other Let's Play videos, I only went to Mark 15. And I wasn't worrying about the quality, and this one I said I'd make across the board Mark 15 epic. And one of the other things that I decided to do in the Let's Play was to utilize a little bit more reputation gear. So for example, these first two weapons here are from the reputation, and reputation gear is the most expensive gear you can either purchase in-game or upgrade in-game. Alright, reputation gear, the most expensive stuff. Fleet gear, much cheaper compared to rep gear. So anyway, yeah, let's start off with the weapons. First up, we have the Advanced Thoron Infused Beam Ray, Mark 15 Epic. This comes from Delta Reputation. I'm using this alongside a console for a 2-piece set bonus, but it's actually not, I'm not benefiting really anything from the 2-piece set bonus. Where is, here, Bioneural Gem Pack. If I right click on more details, we can see here, plus 15.2 radiation damage, doesn't bother me. Plus 20% cooldown reduced for neutronic torpedo. I don't have the torpedo on this build, so I'm not benefiting from that. But I just told you the reason why I have this. I wanted to utilize a little bit more reputation gear, so I picked up a reputation Polaron weapon. Now our second one, I am benefiting from a 2-piece set bonus. We have the Advanced Piezo Polaron Beam Array. I think I'm pronouncing that right. This comes from Lucari Reputation. And it is paired with this piezoelectric focuser. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but if we right click on the weapon and then we click on more details and we see what the 2-piece set bonus is, basically we're getting 15% polaron damage just for having that weapon and this console. Okay, 15% extra polaron damage. Next up, the rest of my weapons then on the front of this ship is they're all the same. Advanced Fleet Polaron Beam Arrays. Basically, I purchased them from the fleet. You need a Tier 2 industrial fabricator to purchase these from the fleet. And I've modded them to crit D times 4 crit D damage, which are pretty good. So yeah, they're the front weapons. Moving on to the space set, I actually pretty much stuck with what came with the character, which was the Jem'Hadar set. I've got the Jem'Hadar deflector dish, I've got the Jem'Hadar combat impulse engines, and I've got the Jem'Hadar resilient shield Mark 15 epic. We'll start off with the deflector dish. Plus 2.5 Starship stealth detection, plus 10.6 Starship hull capacity, plus 10.6 Starship shield capacity, plus 74.4 Starship control expertise, plus 31.9 Starship drain expertise, and plus 39.1 Starship perception, which improves detection of cloaked ships. The impulse engines, plus 21.3 Starship impulse expertise, plus 21.3 Starship sector speed, 23.8 flight speed, 0.84 flight turn rate, plus 20% flight speed when environmental hazards prevent the use of full impulse, plus 5 weapon power, so that's given us a nice little boost there, and 0.5 additional weapon power, bonus increases at low weapon power. We'll move on to the shield. Jem'Hadar resilient shield array, 12,045.9 hit points with 5% absorption and 5% bleed through. I've mentioned before, I prefer resilient shields over all other shields because 5% of the damage is absorbed and then 5% gets through onto my hull. Whereas every other shield, it's 0% absorption, so basically there is none, and 10% bleed through, so 10% of the damage bleeds through and goes directly onto the hull. So I really like that 5% absorption, 5% bleed through on resilient shields. Right, if we look at the bonuses, the set bonuses for this, using the 2-piece set, I am getting plus 16.4% polaron damage just for using any 2 pieces of the set, but I'm actually using all 3. So that's a nice little bonus there. Since I have all 3 pieces, I also have this Antiproton Sweep, which basically is... it's a shield stripping ability to ships that are within your forward-facing 90-degree arc, I think. And also disables cloaking systems for 12 seconds. Finally, we have this Victory is Life. 1% chance to strip off 1 buff while using Polaron weapons. Only works on Jem'Hadar vessels and Cardassian galore. Right, I'm going to show you. This is the Antiproton Sweep, okay? And if we turn this way, you'll see a cone coming out here and it'll sweep from left to right. Okay, so we do this, or actually sweeps both ways, but you see what I meant by a cone. Alright, and if there's any ships within that cone, it strips X amount of the hit points off the shield facing that takes the brunt of the sweep, and if the ship is cloaked or can cloak, it will stop it from cloaking or reveal it as cloaked, which is really, really good. Right, okay, so there's bonuses there from the 3-piece Jem'Hadar set bonus. Moving on to the Warp Core. Elite Fleet Sustained Proton Matter Warp Core. I got this from the Colony World. You need your Colony World's, I can't remember, it's Tier 1. Renewable energy. You need renewable energy at Tier 1. in order to be able to purchase warp cores from your colony. Plus 3 additional shield power, plus 4 additional engine power, 2.5 additional auxiliary power, plus 4 maximum shield power, plus 4 maximum engine power, plus 4 maximum auxiliary power. All 3 of those allows your power levels to exceed 125. Minus 10 weapon power costs, plus 10 resistance rating to subsystem power drain. Maximum warp factor, warp 12.84, 21.3 Starship warp core efficiency, and add 7.5% of your shield power to your weapons power as bonus power. 3.3% all damage per subsystem with 75 or more power. And slipstream drive recharge 100% faster, and add 7.5 of your weapon power to your shield power as bonus power. So that 3.5 all damage per subsystem with 75 or more power is the amp modifier, and we've talked about this before. These are your subsystems: weapons, shields, engines, and auxiliary. And for each one of these that you have either at 75 power or above 75 power, you will gain 3.3% per subsystem that reaches that target. So when I'm in battle, I have a plasmonic leech on this. We'll talk about that a little later. But basically it steals power from your currently selected target and gives it to you as bonus power. And my shields, engines, and auxiliary increases above 75. And with all 4 subsystems at or above 75, I get 13.2% free bonus damage just for having my power levels right. Okay, in the back, I have 3 omnidirectional beam arrays. First up is the Advanced Inhibiting Polaron Omnidirectional Beam Array. This comes from the Gamma reputation. I am using... Wait, is it Gamma reputation? Yeah, it is Gamma reputation. I am using this for the 2-piece set bonus, along with, I think this is it, yeah, the Ordnance Accelerator. If we right click and go to more details, we can see here, where is it, 10% Polaron weapon damage, just for using that Polaron omnidirectional beam array and this console Ordnance Accelerator. Okay. Next up, we have the Board Kinetic Cutting Beam, which comes from Omega Rep. And I'm using this in conjunction with the Assimilated module. We'll talk about the Assimilated module in a little bit. The 2-piece set bonus for this is 2.5% chance when firing energy weapons to gain Omega Weapon Amplifier for 5 seconds. Omega Weapon Amplifier gives plus 10 weapon power, plus 500 weapon power drain resistance, and minus 500% weapon power cost. So basically there's a 2.5% chance that for 5 seconds you will fire your weapons without any power cost whatsoever. So your weapons will fire at full power. Finally, on aft weapons, we have the Omnidirectional Polaron Beam Array, which is a crafted omnidirectional beam array. Modded arc, crit D damage, crit D times 3. Then we have in devices Subspace Field Modulator, which comes from the mission Skirmish, if I remember correctly. We have a Red Matter Capacitor, which comes from the Phoenix Prize Pack. You need a very rare token, I think, for that. It's very rare. I think it's very rare. Yep, that's where you can get that. And then I have Scorpion Fighters just because I had them. I didn't get them because I love them or anything. It's just I have them and I want to get rid of them. They come from the mission, I think it's Cutting the Cord, but don't hold me to that. Right, next up, we're moving on to consoles. The Piezoelectric Focuser, on its own, gives 39.4% Polaron damage. Just that console on its own. It also gives plus 15% flight turn rate and plus 19.7% maximum shield capacity. Really good. Absolutely fantastic. yeah, I'm not using the two-piece, am I? Oh no, I am using, yeah, so I'm getting plus 39.4% Polaron damage from the console, and the two-piece set bonus is giving me an additional 15% Polaron weapon damage. So, like, this is, you know, really, really good for jacking up your numbers. Next up, I have the Sustained Radiant Field Mark 15 Epic, plus 26.3% bonus to outgoing hull heals, plus 13.2% all weapon damage, and plus 26.3% to bonus shield heals. Next up, we have the Ordnance Accelerator, which has minus 1.5 seconds shared mine recharge. We're not using it. Plus 20% mine recharge speed. We're not using it. Plus 26.3% projectile weapon damage. Not using it. Plus 26.3 phaser directed energy weapon damage. Not using it. 26.3% Polaron energy directed energy weapon damage. We are using. And like we highlighted a minute ago, with the two-piece set bonus, we're getting 10% Polaron weapon damage there from the two pieces that we are using. Next up, we have one of my favorites, the Plasmonic Leech, plus 0.75 all power levels to self per stack for 15 seconds, minus 1.5% or minus 1.5 all power levels to target per stack for 15 seconds. So it basically steals power from your currently selected target and gives some of it to you, and increases your power levels. Next up, Hydrodynamics Compensator Mark 15 Epic, gives plus 3 engine power, plus 3 auxiliary power, plus 22.7 Starship weapon accuracy, and plus 30.3 flight turn rate. To be honest, I'm probably using this console more for its turn rate than anything else, but the power is great as well. Then we move on to the Binaural Gel Pack, plus 2.6 power to all subsystems, which is fantastic, plus 26 Starship shield capacity, really good, and plus 7% cooldown reduction on bridge officer abilities, really good there too. Next up, another favourite of mine in conjunction with the Bohr Kinetic Cutting Beam is the Assimilated Module, plus 1.2% critical chance, plus 12.1% critical severity, plus 5 weapon power, plus 6.7 Starship damage control, plus 30.1 Starship control expertise. And we talked about the two-piece set bonus a little while ago. Then we have the Tactical Consoles Vulnerability Locators Mark 15 Epic Polaron. They give plus 39.4% Polaron damage, each and every single one of them, not including the diminishing returns that you do get for stacking the consoles. But each one does give plus 2% critical chance. The reason why you want to go for critical chance tactical consoles, which are available from your Fleet Spire, by the way, it needs to be tier 3, is because you get a bigger bang for your buck if you go for crit D modifiers on your weapons, okay? So if you look at this weapon, it has down around here, alright, we'll go back up, 100% critical severity. Basically you get, I think it's 20% critical severity per crit D modifier. And if you had the other version of these consoles, which is the Vulnerability Exploiter, when they're fully upgraded, you only get something like 9 point something % crit severity. So you get a bigger bang for your buck if you do your crit D modifiers on each individual weapon, and get as much critical chance as you possibly can by using locator consoles in all of your tactical slots. Now, before we move on any further and people start asking or wondering why I am not using the Morphogenic Polaron energy weapon and the Morphogenic Matrix controller, here's why. This is a tactical console, okay, and it only gives plus 25% Polaron damage, alright, and we just talked about the tactical consoles being 39.4% puller-on damage. So it's not worth it to put in this console in place of a tactical console. And also, the 2-piece set bonus, 15% recharge time reduction to fire, will beam overload, cannon scatter volley, rapid fire, torpedo spread, torpedo high yield, mine pattern alpha, and mine pattern beta. If I had that, basically, you can see I have my abilities here. Whenever I go on an attacking run, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright? All abilities one after the other. And that 15% cooldown would make this beam fire will cool down quicker, but it would throw everything out of whack. When I hit the first one, I want to hit the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and I want to do it in one after the other. You know, I want my strikes to be buffed. So that's why I didn't go for it. Because number one, it would take away from one of these tactical consoles, and two, I didn't think the set bonus was that great. Right. Actually, I just remembered one thing. The Plasmonic Leech console. This character is aligned with the KDF faction, and you do not have to purchase Plasmonic Leeches on the exchange. In fact, you can't purchase them on the exchange if you're KDF aligned. But what you can do is you can purchase the Tier 3 Vandal Destroyer in the C-Store, and that ship comes with a Plasmonic Leech. And basically you can claim a Plasmonic Leech on all your KDF characters for free. So yeah, a real favourite of mine, that console, and any KDF characters, as long as they have the Vandal Destroyer, which is the Tier 3 ship, they can claim a free Plasmonic Leech on each of your KDF characters. So, actually, do you know what? I just realised I didn't tell you where each of these came from. So the Piezoelectric Focuser comes from Lucari Rep. The Sustained Radiant Field comes from Iconian. The Ordnance Accelerator comes from... where does it come from? Gamma Reputation. The Hydrodynamics Compensator comes from Undine Rep. The Biannual Gel Pack comes from Delta Reputation, and the Assimilated Module comes from Task Force Omega. Spire, tactical consoles come from the Spire. Right, let's move on to skill tree. So you will notice similarities in this skill tree from other build videos. We have 3 points in energy weapons training to maximize that. We have 2 points in shield capacity because I'd rather be looking at it instead of for it. And we have 1 point in hull capacity. Next up we have electroplasma systems, 2 points. Increases the rate at which your power levels regenerate. We have 2 points in control expertise. You will see shortly when we move on to bridge officer abilities, but I've got gravity wells which benefit from that. We have 2 points in drain expertise, which improves my Plasmonic Leech, and I believe it affects Tychon's Rift as well, but I might be wrong on that. We have 2 points in targeting expertise and 2 points in defensive maneuvering. The reason why I don't have 3 points in each of those is because you don't miss that often, and I'm always at full throttle, so I can be missed quite a bit. And yeah, I figured this is where I could cut back on a couple of points that weren't really needed. Moving on to the next tier, we have 3 points in weapon specialization, which is basically your critical chance. We have 3 points in weapon amplification, which is basically your crit severity. We have 3 points in shield hardness, which is pretty much self-explanatory. And we have 2 points in hull plating, which is a damage resistance rating to energy damage. The reason why I don't have ablative hull plating is because I don't expect to be hit by torpedoes directly on my hull. I play on having my shields up at all times, and torpedoes are crap against shields. Next, we have Advanced Shield Penetration. 3 points in that. Basically, you get past the enemy shields onto the hull. Then we have Hull Penetration, 3 points, gets past the armor and directly onto the hull. We have long-range targeting sensors, which decreases the penalty that is incurred over the distance to target. We have 2 points in particle generators. This is for my gravity well and Tychon's Rift that we'll talk about shortly. Then we have offensive subsystem tuning, weapon subsystem performance, engine subsystem performance, defensive subsystem tuning, shield subsystem performance, and auxiliary subsystem performance. Basically, every single one of these is boosting all of my power levels. And then I have warp core potential and improved warp core potential. First one is +3 to all subsystem power, and second one is +2 to all subsystem power. Right, specializations. I'm using Pilot and Strategist. I'm using Pilot because I really like the 40% turn rate that you get from using Pilot, as well as just, you know, I think the Pilot's specialization is really, really good. But I wanted maneuverability on this ship, and Pilot seemed to be the way to go. And a really good space one, as a general rule, is Strategist as well. And when it's maxed out here, you get +10% maximum shield capacity, which is really good. Okay, moving on to traits. So, space traits. We have Advanced Rapid Support, reduce career-specific fleet recharge time. Bulkhead Technician, maximum hull hit points. Grace Under Fire, taking damage can reset the recharge on miraculous repairs. Innocuous, minus threat and plus crit severity, which actually I need to upgrade that to superior innocuous. I just realized that. Living Hull. Living Hull comes from the story mission Surface Tension, which is in the Dyson Sphere arc. Then we have Nanite Repair... increases hull regeneration for Living Hull. That's what that does. Then we have Nanite Repair Matrix, which automatically hull heals when below 50%. That comes from the story mission Midnight, which is in the Iconian War story arc. Then we have Superior Astrophysicist, plus Starship Particle Generators, Flow Capacitors, and Sensors, which basically improves things like Gravity Well. Superior Beam Weapon Training, plus Beam Weapon Damage, and Superior Elusive, increased defense. So they're the traits that I'm using. Moving on to Starship Traits. First up, we have Desperate Repairs. This Starship trait comes from the Tier 6 Guardian, which is a Federation ship. It actually comes on the Tier 6 Guardian and the Tier 6 Mirror Universe Guardian as well. But anyway, the point is that those are the only ships that you can get Desperate Repairs on. So because this character is KDF aligned and there is no other way to get that trait on the KDF side, once earned on the Federation side, it becomes an automatic unlock for KDF characters that can be redeemed through the Dilithium store. Okay. Next up, we have Improved Critical Systems, which now, all right, these next two are going to be tough for some people, and I realize that. Improved Critical Systems comes from the Temporal recruitment event that happened some time ago. If you're watching this video after the event, which you no doubt are, and if you haven't had the opportunity to do the Temporal recruitment event, you won't be able to get this trait. It gives plus critical chance and plus critical damage after using an emergency power bridge officer ability. The next trait, Improved Temporal Insight, comes from the Delta recruitment event. So you see what I mean about it might be difficult to get these traits for some players. But again, if you're watching this after the Delta recruitment event and haven't had the opportunity to take part in it, you won't be able to get this trait. But if you did take part part in it, you've unlocked this trait on your account and you'll be able to get it. Which basically, this trait does temporary immunity from hull heals, which is great for survivability. And a favourite of mine, a big favourite of mine. Next up we have Superior Pedal to the Metal, which is an increased damage from full throttle. This comes from spending 30 points in the Pilot Specialization. And then we have the Best Defense. Attack patterns grant hull healing buff to self. And this comes from the story mission House Pech, which is in the Iconian War story arc, if I remember correctly. Space reputations. First up, we have Advanced Targeting Systems, which comes from Dyson Reputation. This is the rank 2 variety. Then we have Destabilizing Phase Array, rank 2. That comes from Iconian Rep. Then we have Enhanced Armor Penetration, rank 2. That comes from Delta Reputation, plus 6.3 armor penetration. Then we have Enhanced Shield Penetration, rank 2, which comes from Nunkara Rep. Ignores 6.5% of your target shields with directed energy attacks. And then we have Magnified Firepower, rank 2, which comes from Gamma Reputation, plus 6.3% bonus weapon damage. Really, really good traits. In Active Reputation, I've basically just picked all space ones. So the first one we've got is the Anti-Time Entanglement. Is that the full name of it? Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity, rank 2. I won't bother reading out what each one does, actually, because you can just check that out yourself. Second up is Biomolecular Shield Generator, which is basically a shield heal. Then we have Deploy Sensor Interference Platform, rank 2, which basically taunts NPCs. Then we have the Quantum Singularity Manipulation, rank 2, which is basically a free cloak. And then we have the Refracting Tetryon Cascade, rank 2, which is a Tetryon. It's not AoE damage, it's a chain attack. Goes from one target to another as long as they're within range of each other. And yeah, those are the traits. If you're wondering what this trait is down here, this is the Well-Traveled trait, which gives plus 20% reduced cooldown on Transwarp. If you're interested in obtaining that trait, check out my video on Tour of the Galaxy, and you will learn how to get that trait. It's really easy, but a really great trait to get, and it doesn't take up a slot. It's just permanently there. Okay. Next, we are going to move on to Bridge Officers. So this ship is very, very unique compared to all other ships. Sorry about that. I had to take a drink there. So yeah, very unique in that it has 2 commander bridge officer stations. But it does only have 4 bridge officer stations overall. But still, 2 commanders, so very, very unique. And there's a lot of different things you could do with this ship. Now, I have only 1 tactical bridge officer on this guy. And I've got an attack pattern, I've got a tactical team and an attack pattern and a weapon buff, okay? Now, normally with only 1 tactical bridge officer, most people will probably go with an Oxtabat build, but I decided not to with this one. If I was going to do an Oxtabat, I would need another engineer here, and both of these abilities, the lieutenant abilities, would need to be auxiliary to battery. But I decided against it, just for funsies. And it's not bad. It's not a bad build. It's really good, and I've had a lot of fun with it, believe me. So anyway, yeah, I've got 1 tactical. You can see I have 2 science. The commander science, I've got a tachyon beam, a polarized hull, Tychon's Rift, and a gravity well. My engineer, I've got emergency power to shields, emergency power to weapons, an engineering team 3, and directed energy modulation 3. And my second science, I have a transfer shield strength and a hazard emitters. The tachyon beam basically strips shields off a target. Polarized hull is a damage resistance rating, and immunity to tractor beams, and immunity to teleport. Tychon's Rift is an energy power level reduction on target, and some kinetic damage. Gravity Well basically pulls targets to a given location and gives some kinetic damage as well. Emergency power to shields is a shield heal. Emergency power to weapons is a weapons power buff. Engineering Team 3 is a hull healing buff. Directed energy modulation is energy weapon shield penetration and armor penetration. Transfer shield strength is a shield heal, and hazard emitters is a hull heal. Right. So yeah, you could do some other things. Like you could put another tactical in here. You might go attack team, maybe a beam fire will, an attack pattern. Yeah, maybe. All right. Beam fire will. No, sorry. Attack team, beam fire will. Beamfire will, attack pattern Omega is something that you could do there. And here you could use, instead of Beamfire will 3, you could do Intelligence Team 3 maybe. Something like that. Since this is an intelligence seat. Alternatively, you could change this guy to an engineer. You could do an Ox to Bat build. I didn't want to do that. Like I said... and plus, it would have ruined my science abilities, because these are deflector abilities, most of them anyway. But let's talk about the bridge officers themselves. So, let's see. This is one, this is one, this is one, and this is one. Right, okay. So, we'll start off. I am using 2 Jem'Hadar bridge officers that come with the Vanguard pack. The reason why I'm using these guys is because of this trait, Engineered Soldier Space, which is plus crit and crit severity increased damage. So 5% all weapon damage, plus 1% critical chance, plus 2.5% crit severity. And there's the second one, same thing. Then I've got one Romulan bridge officer from the Fleet Embassy. The reason why I've gone for this guy is because he has Superior Romulan Operative, which gives plus 2% critical chance, plus 5% critical severity, and plus 15 recharge to cloaking. That last part is irrelevant, but yeah, I've got one tactical officer, and it's a Superior Romulan Operative. The rest, these 2 guys are Jem'Hadar from the Vanguard pack. And then we have this guy, which is Mr. Potato Head, which comes from the story mission Alliances, and that is in the Delta Quadrant story arc. And he comes with the Starship Traits Efficient, which is plus 7.5 Starship Warp Core Efficiency, and then Pirate, which is bonus damage and perception, plus 1.5 bonus hull damage, 150 Starship Stealth. If you don't have the Vanguard pack or bridge officers, you can go with a Romulan from your embassy here. If you're doing another tactical, you can do another Romulan from your embassy here. Mr. Potato Head here, definitely. You could go with 2 pirates. Sorry, not pirates. You could go with 2 Nausicaans here if you wanted, because Nausicaans come with the pirate trait, and that would be a bonus then to damage. Or you could get a human and a Nausicaan. A human you can get from reaching rank 4 in the marauding duty officer commendation. Once you're rank 4, you can pick up a free human on the KDF side. If you are fed and you're using this ship, if you're rank 4 in diplomacy, you can get 1 free Nausicaan, and that would do it. So again, you could go Nausicaan and human. And human has the leadership trait, which is a plus hull regen rate, and the Nausicaan has the pirate trait. Okay, let's move on to duty officers, and we're going to go to roster. and active space. First up, we have a damage control engineer, which is a chance to reduce the recharge time for emergency power to subsystem abilities, which is these abilities down here. Currently, very rare ones are going for about 1 million EC on the exchange, so not very expensive at all. Next up, we have a warp core engineer, chance of temporarily improving your ship's power on use of any emergency power ability. So again, every time you use an emergency power ability, you have a chance, you have a chance that all of your power levels will jump up because of having used an emergency power ability. I'll keep hitting this and we'll see if it happens. Warp core engineers are currently going for 440,000 EC on the exchange right now. Excuse me. Next up, we have a deflector officer. Chance to reduce the recharge time for deflector abilities. Deflector abilities are abilities like Gravity Well 3 and Tychon's Rift. Stuff like that all qualify as deflector abilities. They are currently going for 580,000 energy credits on the exchange, and I'm using 2 of them. You can equip 2 of those bad boys on to your build. Next up, we have an astrometric scientist, which is a recharge time reduced on all transwarp abilities. Works very nicely with the well-traveled trait that I showed you guys earlier down here, which is a 20% reduce cooldown on transwarp abilities. The percentage for this is a 200%, so it makes a big difference. Astrometric scientists are currently going for 345,000 on the exchange. And finally, we have a gravimetric scientist, which is a chance to create an aftershock gravity well. And basically what it does is, when you hit gravity well, there is a 25% chance to create an additional gravity well after 12 seconds. Then you have a 20% chance to create an aftershock gravity well after 14 seconds, and so on and so forth. There's my power levels after jumping up. See, all 4 power levels jumped up by I want to say 20 or 25%. Plus 25 all. Yeah, that was it. Plus 25. Okay. That's the duty officers. So next, I guess, we are going to jump into a patrol, and we're going to see what this bad boy is like in a single player environment. Now, I have brought this ship into Infected the Conduit Advanced, and I've been able to get about 55,000 DPS.
We're in luck. We made it here before Je'Ula. Let's get
out
to work.
of this build.
Starfleet is studying a spore
really good.
We're carrying some
and a lot of fun. But yeah, that's basically what I've been able to get out of it on Infected the Conduit, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to group these guys up, and we're going to let rip and see the ship's already starting to blow up. And the last one, there you go. All taken care of.
Okay, let's have.
Now, this ship. One thing that I want to do in all these videos is give a fun factor rating for each of the ships. And for this ship, I would give a fun factor rating of 4 warp cores out of 5. The reason why I'm not giving it 5 out of 5 is because of I'm trying to think of the word that I want to use. It's not tankiness. It's a little bit of a glass cannon, this build. I freely admit that. It is a little bit of a glass cannon. Or it can be a little bit of a glass cannon.
I knew this was too good to be true. Let's get satellite Gamma online
so yeah,
while we
it can be just a little bit of you know, it can pop a little bit easier if you're not paying attention. But it is an awful lot of fun to play. So yeah, 4 out of 5 is what I would give this ship. And yeah, I think that you would enjoy it as well. I certainly have. I've had a lot of fun with it. And I'd say that you would too. Right, so, yeah, there's the first of them popping. Yep, and one dude left.
All right, we have one satellite left to deploy.
Let's do some shield healing here.
They're hitting satellite Alpha again.
See them popping already, just one after the other. It's like a chain reaction. I love it.
Another
It's so
launch
much fun.
going after satellite Delta.
Alright, moving on to the next one.
Getting readings from satellite Gamma. Looks like
And
an
on
Alachi
to
flagship.
the last group. And then that'll be the end of the patrol. So you can see that the build, you know, it doesn't have any problem at all taking on enemies. Like it can hold its own. It really, really can. There we go. Patrol complete. I mean, any of those groups, it didn't take a huge amount of time to kill any of them. You know, they were all pretty fast. Yeah, that's been my experience with this ship ever since it was gifted to me by
Getting
that
lots of good data
incredible
coming in
member
from the
of the Priority 1 Armada,
Looks
Ray
like
Bosch
they're green
Borg.
across the board.
And I've had so much
Do
fun
not
in
to
this ship.
station the
It's
Alachi.
just been fantastic. Right, so yeah, let's see. We've done the patrol, we've gone through the build, the entire build. We've done a fun factor rating, 4 out of 5, which is really, really good. 4 out of 5 is a very good rating for sure. There is a link to this build in the description below. So that you can go to... So it's done in STO Academy, so that you can use it as a reference point or a to-do list if you're planning on replicating this build. Everything about the build is 100% done up there. The bridge officer abilities, the equipment, the weapons, the consoles, the devices, the duty officers, the bridge officer abilities, the skill tree, the specializations, everything is duplicated on STO Academy. You can find the link in the description below and use it as a to-do list if you want to. But yeah, we're going to finish up there for now. Thanks a million for watching, folks. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I really appreciate all of your support. If you have any requests for builds on specific ships, leave a comment below as well, and if I have the ship, I will endeavor to do that video for you. Just let me know what the ship is, and like I said, if I have it, I'll try and do it for you. That's it for now. So my name is Winters, and I'll catch you next time. So until then, adios.